wherever you are listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 9 a.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfínjú. Instagram. Àfínjú. Facebook. Àfínjú. Lórí X. Àfínjú. Lórí YouTube. Àfínjú. Lórí TikTok. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú. Rédíò àfínjú.
Stay informed, connected, and stay ahead. Wake up to the headlines that matter. Eat the Dailies, your 1-hour daily newspaper review program where we bring you the biggest headlines making the rounds across Nigeria's major newspapers, from politics, business, entertainment, sport, and more. Join us every Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Radio Afinju as we analyze, discuss, and break down the news shaping our nation. Your voice matters too. Call us live on 0912-111-1115 or share your thought in the comment section on our Facebook page and let's hear what you think. Also, log on to our website www.afinjufm.com. The Dailies, where news meets conversation. Only on Radio Afinju.
A pleasant morning to you. You're welcome to the Dailies, where we'll look at the stories making front pages of all our national dailies. My name is Pearl Durotoye, and I welcome you to the Dailies this morning on Radio Afinju, the radio station with an impeccable dimension to broadcasting. Do well to follow us on all social media platforms at Radio Afinju, or you can listen to our audio stream live on our website at www.afinjufm.com or go to Zeno Radio or radio.garden, search for Radio Afinju or Afinju, AFINJU, and you will find us there and you will hear us crystal clear. This morning I have with me 5 newspapers on which we will be looking at some of the stories making front pages. I have the Daily Trust, I have the Guardian, I have Daily Sun, I have Tribune, and I also have Punch newspaper. Let's look at the stories we will be looking at from the Daily Trust. This story here says 15 rescued in Lagos building collapse. 15 rescued in Lagos building collapse. Also have those headlines saying 10 headers killed, over 80 bandits neutralized in Kebbi State. 10 headers killed, over 80 bandits neutralized in Kebbi. And this headline as well that says I am being shot out. That's coming from Sule Lamido. We'll look at that in a while. And also from the Daily Trust, this last story, international story from Cameroon that says a protest in Cameroon as Biya secures 8th term. Protest in Cameroon as Biya secures 8th term. Now moving on to the Guardian newspaper. I have this headline here. Still on insecurity, bandits impose a 50 million naira levy on Tambowal's constituents and threatens fresh attacks. Bandits impose a 50 million naira levy on Tambowal's constituents, threatens fresh attacks. And then this next story from Ekiti State. Oyebanji emerges APC's candidate for Ekiti Guba polls. Oyebanji emerges APC's candidate for Ekiti Guba polls. And then this next story still on the strike. NARD insists on November 1st strike claims health workers owed 38 billion naira in 2 years. NAD insists on November 1st strike, claims health workers owed 38 billion naira in 2 years. And then finally, this headline from the Guardian that says Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1st. Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1st. Moving on to the next story for the morning from the Daily Sun newspaper. I have the story that says Nnamdi Kanu abandons plan to open defense, insists he has no case to answer, gets 7 days to file written address. I'll take that again. Nnamdi Kanu abandons plan to open defense, insists he has no case to answer, gets 7 days to file written address. We'll look at what page that story is in a minute. And the next story here says APC chairman puts governors under pressure, asks Nigerians to demand more from them. We'll be looking at what APC chairman is saying this in a minute. And then the last story from the Daily Sun, we have this headline here that says convention, PDP postpones screening indefinitely. PDP postpones screening indefinitely. Now moving on to the Nigerian Tribune, we have this headline that says 2025 UTME JAMB releases result of 85 underage candidates. JAMB releases result of 85 underage candidates. And then the last story from the Tribune, Tinubu service chiefs meet, review security strategies. Tinubu service chiefs meet, review security strategies. And now to the last newspaper for the morning. I have the Punch newspaper with this headline, Natasha broke penal code in attacks on Akpabio Bello. That's coming from the AGF. And then this next headline that says Tinubu and Obasanjo lead dignitaries to honor Christopher Kolade. Tinubu, Obasanjo lead dignitaries to honor Christopher Kolade. We'll be looking at what page the story is in a minute. And then next we move on to, still on Punch, but Punch Sports Extra. We have this sports headline that says Itauma won't fight in December. Itauma won't fight in December. You'll find this on page. I'll show the page. I'll tell you the page in a moment. And then this next headline that says Nnadozie Alozie gets global nominations. Nnadozie Alozie gets global nominations. These are the few stories we will be looking at on the dailies this morning. I'll go on a very quick break, and when I come back, we will look at the headlines, the pages, and details of the story. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the dailies on Radio Afinju. Now let's look at the first story for the morning. This headline is from the Daily Trust. 10 headers killed, over 80 bandits neutralized in Kebbi. 10 headers killed, over 80 bandits neutralized in Kebbi. Let's see what the story says. 10 headers were killed in a reprisal attack carried out in Era on Sunday in Tili community, Bunza local government area of Kebbi State. The attack was reportedly launched by some residents of the community following the killing of a vigilante member by operatives of the Lakurawa terrorist group. It was gathered that the killing of the vigilante man was mistakenly blamed on the Fulani residents of the area, leading to a raid on their settlement by some members of the community, during which 10 of them were killed. A local source who spoke to the Daily Trust correspondent said the reprisal attack on Fulani settlement was a mistake. It says, and I quote, "They thought the Fulani were responsible for the killing of the vigilante man, but it was actually the Lakurawa who attacked the community. They stormed the Fulani settlement and killed over 10 people. We are still searching for more victims who might have died in the incident. This is quite a very sad one. 10 headers killed, over 80 bandits neutralized in Kebbi in the reprisal attacks, which happened to be in Aero. You can just imagine what this can lead to. But you can read more details on the story on page 5 of the Daily Trust. Moving on to the next story. 15 rescued in Lagos building collapse. 15 rescued in Lagos building collapse. Let's see what the story says. A two-story building collapsed in the early hours of Monday in the Oyingbo area of Lagos, but swift rescue efforts saved 15 people trapped in the rubble. The building, located at 54 Cole Street, Cemetery Bus Stop, Oyingbo, Lagos, was reported to have shown signs of distress before its collapse. Emergency respondents led by the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service and the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, quickly arrived at the scene to carry out search and rescue operations. And at least 15 people, including adults and children, were pulled from under the rubble and taken to nearby hospitals, including the Federal Medical Center, Ebute Metta, and the General Hospital, Odon, Lagos Island, for treatment. Rescue operations are still ongoing, with emergency responders working tirelessly to locate and free those still trapped beneath the debris. So that's the headline, and that's part of the story. You can read more details on the story and this disaster on page 6 of the Daily Trust. 15 rescued in the Lagos building collapse. So far, I think there have been 2 deaths, which is quite a very sad one, especially since the building have shown signs of distress, right? If a building has shown signs of distress, the right thing to do would be to evacuate the building immediately. I do not know why sometimes we like to wait until things get very terrible before we start to take actions. Both the landlords, the owners of the building, and even the tenants, they can be said to be culpable at this moment, because as you're living in a building, it is your job to ensure your own safety, because it can give way at any time. So if that building has been showing signs of distress, then quickly evacuate. And may the souls of those who have left, who passed away from this disaster, rest in peace. And I hope that more people will be rescued in the coming hours. So that's the story, page 6 of Daily Trust. And to the next story for the morning, PDP chairmanship. I am being shut out. Sule Lamido. I am being shut out. Sule Lamido. Let's see what that is saying. The crisis threatening to derail preparations for the People's Democratic Party (PDP) National Convention deepened on Monday as former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido vowed to take legal action following his failed attempt to obtain the nomination form for the position of national chairman. Lamido's outburst came amid growing discontent within the opposition party over the endorsement of former Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Kabiru Tanimu Turaki, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as consensus candidates for the chairmanship ahead of the convention scheduled for November 15th and 16th in Ibadan, Oyo State. Before Lamido's saga, some legal hurdles have been threatening the convention. A federal high court in Abuja has fixed October 30th to deliver judgment in a suit seeking to halt the convention. The case, filed by some state party chairmen believed to be loyal to the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike, an outspoken critic of the convention plan, has become a major test for the party's unity and readiness for transition. So that's the story, and you can read more details. There's still a lot of details on this particular story. I am being shut out. PDP chairmanship, Sule Lamido is crying out, saying he's being shut out from obtaining the form for the position of the national chairman. So look at page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust for more details on the story. And now for this last story from the foreign scene. This headline says, protests in Cameroon as Biya secures 8th term. Protests in Cameroon as Biya secures 8th term. Hundreds of Cameroonians took to the streets in protest on Monday after the world's oldest head of state, Paul Biya, was proclaimed to have won an 8th term, extending his more than 4-decade rule. Biya, 92, was re-elected with 53.7% of the vote in the Central African country, according to official results announced by the Constitutional Council, while former government minister Issa Shiroma Bakri came second with 35.2%. Hundreds heeded Chiroma's call to rally against Biya in the economic capital Douala and his northern hometown of Garoua on Monday evening, despite restrictions, with security forces reportedly moving in to break up the latest demonstrations. Similar demonstrations turned deadly over the weekend, with 4 people reportedly killed. Shiroma swiftly denounced the announcement of Biya's win on Monday, telling AFP that there was no election and it was rather a masquerade. We won unequivocally. So that's the story. Violent aftermath of the elections in Cameroon as Biya, 92-year-old Biya, secures 8th term. That's quite a long time to be president, so it's quite understandable why there would be protests, despite that it is being organized by the opposition party. But you can read more details on this protest and Cameroon on page 30 of the Daily Trust. Now let's move on to the next newspaper for the morning, The Guardian newspaper. I start with this news on insecurity. Bandits impose 15 million naira levy on Tambuwal's constituents, threaten fresh attacks. Bandits impose 15 million naira levy on Tambuwal's constituents, threatens fresh attacks. Residents of the Bazaar community and surrounding villages in the Yabo Council area of Sokoto State have raised their alarm over a 15 million naira levy allegedly imposed on them by suspected bandits. The communities are under the Sokoto South Senatorial District, currently represented by former governor of the state, Aminu Tambuwal. Some of the community members said the bandits had warned that failure to pay the levy could lead to a series of violent attacks on the settlement. One of the residents, Dauda Umar, confirmed the development in an interview with journalists, describing the situation as dire and urged the government's immediate attention. He says, and I quote, "It is true that the bandits demanded 15 million naira from us, threatening to cause harm if we don't comply. I don't have direct knowledge of the next move, but the levy has already been imposed and some people are discussing how to raise the money." The residents also appealed to the council chairman and the state government to strengthen security in the communities to prevent immediate loss of lives and properties. That's part of the story on the Guardian newspaper. You can read more on it on page 30 of the Guardian. I don't know personally. I do not think it is a good idea to raise money, because this is some sort of blackmail. And the thing with blackmail is that when requests are made and such requests are granted, more requests are still going to be made. So if they request 50 million and you rally round and then you pay, the next time they will request more money and you will be forced to pay. So for how long are people going to keep paying for their own safety? I think this is where we call on the state government and federal government to step in and do something about this to avoid the loss of lives and properties. That's the headline. Bandits impose 50 million naira levy on Tambuwal's constituents and threatens fresh attacks. Page 30 of The Guardian. Let's go to Ekiti State with this headline that says Oyebanji emerges APC's candidate for Ekiti Guba polls. Oyebanji emerges APC's candidate for Ekiti Guba polls. Ekiti State Governor Abiodun Oyebanji has been affirmed and ratified as the consensus candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC for the 2026 governorship election in the state. The governor was ratified yesterday in Ado Ekiti, the state capital, during a special nomination exercise presided over by the chairman of the primary election committee and the governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo. The ratification followed the motion moved by the Senate leader Opeyemi Bamidele and seconded by the Speaker of the Ekiti House, State House of Assembly, Adeoye Aribashoye. However, following his affirmation as the consensus candidate of the APC for the election, Oyebanji cautioned the supporters, especially party members, against engaging in character assassination or divisive behavior. He also extended a hand of fellowship to his main challenger before the primary, Kayode Ojo, urging him and other aspirants to close ranks and work with him to ensure the APC's victory in the 2026 governorship election and to strengthen support for President Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2027 presidential elections. So that's the story from Ekiti. Oyebanji emerges APC's candidate for Ekiti Guba polls. Is going to face other opposition parties in the upcoming governorship elections. You can read more on this story on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper. Still on the the planned nationwide strike, NAD has insisted on the strike, claiming health workers are owed 38 billion naira in 2 years. So that is bringing us to this headline. NAD insists on November 1st strike, claims health workers owed 38 billion naira in 2 years. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has declared that there is no going back on its planned nationwide strike from midnight to November 1st, 2025, except the government reinstates its members that were unjustly dismissed, pays some of the arrears of allowances being owed, and restores the value of membership certificates. The doctors yesterday said that the government owed about 50,000 health workers across the country 38 billion naira in salaries in the past 2 years, and that's excluding allowances. The country, without over 20,000 resident doctors 10 years ago, has barely 11,000 resident doctors, with 9,000 of the federal levy with 9,000 at the federal level and 1,500 in the private sector and about 500 at the state level. NAD lamented. The NAD president, Mohammed Suleiman, who made this declaration while briefing journalists in Abuja, directed all resident doctors in federal and state tertiary health institutions nationwide to withdraw their services completely until the federal government and the affected state governments demonstrate genuine commitment to addressing the association's demand. He further decried the federal government's persistent failure to address the legitimate demands of the doctors, noting with utter disappointment that despite attempts at engaging it and repeated extension of ultimatum as a show of goodwill, the government has failed to respond adequately to their demands. So that's the story, but there's still more details about what Suleiman, the NAD president, says, and you will find it on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. This is still quite a sad news because the NAD and the federal government, they are still at a deadlock, and it is it's still going to trickle down to patients in the hospitals if the resident doctors do go on strike, and it is my hope that they are able to come to a consensus very, very soon. Now let's look at the last story from The Guardian for this morning with this headline that says Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1st. Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1st. Let's see what the story says. Nigeria's inbound and outbound passengers are in for an additional tax regime with a $11.5 security levy effective December 1st, 2025. This new tax, also known as the Advanced Passenger Information System, increases Nigeria's security levy to $31.5 per flight ticket and is estimated to generate a cumulative sum of $46 million for the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority yearly. On the other hand, the development will further increase the cost of international travel borne by Nigerian travelers. The apex regulatory body, NCAA, in a notice to airlines, stated that the levy aims to create a single window approach for all agencies at the airport, and the collection is expected to last for 20 years. And according to the agency, the system would help to track passenger movements, improve border control, and provide airlines with a cost recovery mechanism for the system's maintenance. So that's part of the story, but you can read more on this on page 6 of The Guardian. Nigerian international travelers to pay extra $11.5 charge per ticket from December 1st. I would say international travelers are in for a ride as more tax is being added. You can read more on that. Page 6, The Guardian newspaper. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at more stories making front pages of our national dailies. Don't go anywhere. It's still the Dailies on Radio Afinju.
For an ultimate entertainment experience. An all-round gist with your spicy honey drops. Don't miss the fun, excitement, and updates on Afinju Arena. Only on Radio Afinju.
Apology for what you say, don't play. Or you will learn.
olókoòwò ẹ súnmọ́ bí. ẹ̀yin oníṣẹ́ oṣù náà ẹ mọ́ gbẹ̀yìn ẹ̀yin olókoòwò kéékèèké tẹ́ ẹ nílò ìrànlọ́wọ́ owó ẹ tara ṣàṣà máa bọ̀ ètò káràkátà lórí rédíò àfínjú ni kẹ́ ẹ mọ́ gbọ́ báyìí o lórí ètò yìí ni wọ́n ti máa sọ ìmọ̀ràn fáwọn oníṣẹ́ ọwọ́ àtòníṣẹ́ oṣù ìròyìn látọjú ọjà náà ń bẹ́ńbẹ́ láti mọ bí nǹkan ṣe ń lọ káàkiri àwọn ọjà wa ìrànlọ́wọ́ owó fáwọn olókoòwò kéékèèké ò ní gbẹ̀yìn lórí ètò.
ètò káràkátà máa gbìnàyà ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ìṣẹ́gun Tuesday lórí rédíò àfínjú ní déédéé aago 12 ọ̀sán.
ẹ wò ó ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ kágbọ̀n ìtọ́wò ni ẹ fi máa dùn ọbẹ̀ ẹ lọ tẹ̀lé rédíò àfínjú káàkiri àwọn àtẹ ayélujára kẹ́ ẹ lè jẹ mùkúntùn ètò káràkátà Adédayọ̀ Dẹ́rínú ọmọ wọn lẹ́sẹ̀ kò jọmọ ó nù ni ó máa tọ́kùn ètò káràkátà ìdàgbàsókè ọrọ̀ ajé ló jẹ wá lógún.
ẹ̀yin tó mọ ìgbádùn tó kí fọ́fọ́ mìrì gidi kí gbẹ̀ngbẹ̀ ẹ máa bọ̀ láríyá àfínjú. àríyá àfínjú lẹ́ẹ̀tì máa jẹ̀gbálálà àwọn ògbóǹtarìgì pédépédé tí wọn yóò máa fi ẹ̀fẹ̀ dàìlúùtì àwọn orin fújì àwúrèbe àpàlà jùjú àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ fún ìgbádùn yín. àríyá àfínjú ẹ má míìsì ẹ̀ nítorí pé live and direct gangan ni ó máa jẹ́ lórí àwọn àti ayélujára wa bíi Facebook àti YouTube. àríyá àfínjú ló wà fún ìgbádùn rẹ̀.
wọ́n sọ fún wa nípa iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ ebi má bá wa.
ọ̀tọ̀ ní tọ́lú ọlọ́tọ̀ ní tòun ọ̀tọ̀ ǹjẹ́ ẹ nífẹ̀ẹ́ láti mọ̀ síwájú nípa ètò àgbẹ̀ ẹ má dààmú jìnnà rárá o ètò pàtàkì kan tí ò mọ fi yín mọ̀nà nípa iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ kí lorúkọ ètò náà àgbẹ̀ lọ́ba.
àsìkò máa ti tó ó yẹ ká gbéṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ lárugẹ.
lórí ètò yìí lẹ́ ó ti máa gbọ́ nípa bí ẹ ṣe lè ní ìmọ̀ nípa ètò àgbẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ lọ́ba lètò tẹ́ ò máa gbọ́ tẹ́ ò sì máa gbádùn rẹ̀ ní ìkànnì yìí ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Tuesday ní déédéé aago 4 sí 5 rọ̀lẹ́ orí ètò yìí ẹ tún lè mọ̀ nípa ohun ọ̀gbìn pẹ̀lú ohun ọ̀sìn lóríṣiríṣi ẹ sáà ti darapọ̀ mọ́ atọ́kùn ètò Sheriff Àjàdí ọmọ wọn ní ìlú Ifọ̀n Òròlú ọmọ Akẹ̀láwẹ̀ ọmọ aládé ṣẹ́ṣẹ́ fún bákan náà ẹ tún lè láǹfààní láti pè sí orí ètò ní ọgbà bí ètò náà ṣe ń lọ lọ́wọ́. àgbẹ̀ lọ́ba ètò tó mú ìgbélárugẹ bá iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ lápapọ̀.
Life no get duplicate.
na so ẹ̀mí ò láàárọ̀ o.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
tẹ́ jẹ́jẹ́ o.
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o make you take am easy.
na so o.
Radio Afinju says if you drink don't drive if you drive don't drink.
tẹ́ jẹ́jẹ́ o.
make you take am easy.
na so o.
This awareness is brought to you by Radio Afinju.
Everybody has a day when the sun stays away. Take heart in a new tomorrow. A little more love between makes for a brighter day. Never need worry, let one love set you free. One love keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle just staying alive. One love keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle just staying alive.
Yes, one love keeps us together as a nation. Let us endeavor to have more love in our hearts because that's what will determine how you will treat the next person. And you're welcome back to the Dailies here on Radio Afinju. We're still looking at stories making front pages of our national newspapers. But before I continue with the next paper for this morning, I want to say hello to Abiola Boluwatife on Facebook. He's saying good morning. Good morning to you too, Abiola Boluwatife. Thanks for joining the show this morning. Now let's go on to the next paper for today, which is the Daily Sun newspaper. And I start with this headline that says APC chairman puts governors under pressure, asks Nigerians to demand more from them. APC chairman puts governors under pressure, asks Nigerians to demand more from them. Let's look at who is saying what. National chairman of The All Progressives Congress, APC, Netanwe Yewatda, has urged Nigerians to hold their local government chairmen and state governors accountable for improved welfare and economic development, claiming that his party is making changes that look unreasonable to the eyes of the people. Yewatda hinged this claim on the federal government's removal of petroleum subsidy and the surpassing of World Bank predictions. He lamented that the governors and local government chairmen may not have been doing enough for the funds from the center to trickle down to the people at the grassroots. He spoke at a book launch, Vicious Red Circle, written by Alex Ugochukwu Oriakụ in Abuja yesterday. According to him, state governors are getting more than enough and should not have any reason to complain. And I'll round off with this quote where he says, as a political party, we in the APC like doing the unthinkable, making changes that look unreasonable in the eye of people, but deep within and seated in our hearts, it is how to make changes that can improve the life of our people that is at the center of our hearts. And that is why we are working as citizens with the economy, and everybody knows the numbers are changing. Well, I will just say, if the people are thinking it's unreasonable, I think the onus is on you to make more reasonable policies, or policies that seem reasonable to the people, or do better at the interpretation of these policies so that people can understand instead of drawing inaccurate conclusions. But that's the last part of the story from the APC chairman, because he's saying that enough money is being dispensed to the state government, but for one reason or the other, it is not being trickled down to the grassroots for the people to enjoy. He's asking Nigerians to demand more from their state governors. You can read more on the details of this on page 6 of Daily Sun. And on to the next story from the Daily Sun still. Nnamdi Kanu abandons plan to open defense, insists he has no case to answer, gets 7 days to file written address. Nnamdi Kanu abandons plan to open defense, insists he has no case to answer, gets 7 days to file written address. Let's look at the body of the story. In a dramatic twist, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has told Justice James Omotosho of the Abuja Division of the Federal High Court that there was no valid charge of terrorism against him that warrants his defense. Kanu, who declined to enter his defense on the terrorism charges against him by the federal government, said after going through the case file, there is no valid charge against him. This was against his earlier position that he was ready to personally defend himself after sacking his lawyers. He had written the court indicating his intention to call witnesses and applied for witness summons. However, when the case was called yesterday, Kanu made a U-turn, saying after going through the case file, he has realized that there is no valid charge against him, arguing that since he is convinced that there is no valid charge against him and that he was subjected to unlawful trial, there would be no need for him to conduct any defense. Justice James Omotosho has asked him to file a written address to that effect and serve the prosecution, and also advised him to consult experts in criminal law on the consequences of the action or the option he has chosen. We can read more on the story on page 27 of the Daily Sun. Page 27 of the Daily Sun. Nnamdi Kanu abandons plan to open defense, insists he has no case to answer, gets 7 days to file written address. And on to the last story from the Daily Sun. Convention. PDP postpones screening indefinitely. PDP postpones screening of aspirants indefinitely. The National Convention Organizing Committee of the People's Democratic Party has postponed the screening of aspirants for its 2025 elective convention earlier scheduled for today. Chairman of the committee and Governor of Adamawa State, Ahmad Funtiri, in a statement in Abuja, attributed the postponement to unforeseen circumstances. He says, and I quote, "The NCOC regrets any inconveniences caused by the postponement. All aspirants and members of our party should note the foregoing and be guided accordingly. The NCOC remains committed to delivering a credible, hitch-free 2025 elective national convention on Saturday, November 15th and Sunday, November 16th in Abuja, the Oyo State capital. However, a suit seeking to stop the convention comes up for hearing on October 31st, that is this Friday. And then meanwhile, I think I've talked about this, where the former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, has threatened legal action if the party fails to sell chairmanship nomination form to him. But more details on the story will be found on page 6 of the Daily Sun. PDP postpones the screening indefinitely. Moving on to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, I'll start with this headline on education. 2025 UTME, JAMB releases results of 85 underage candidates. JAMB releases results of 85 underage candidates. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released the results of 85 underage candidates who successfully completed the comprehensive screening process established by the board for exceptional admission. Spokesman of JAMB, Dr. Fabian Benjamin, announced the release of the results in a statement on Monday in Abuja. He noted that after meticulous evaluation, 85 candidates less than 16 by September. That is, these 85 candidates will still be less than 16 years old by September 2025, who were adjudged to be qualified, have been duly notified to proceed to their respective institutions to complete the admission process and print their individual JAMB admission letters. And then it says, and I quote, "This policy of exceptional admission is consistent with global best practices where such cases are treated as rare exceptions rather than the norm." He recalled that in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME, of the 2,031,133 applicants, a total of 41,027 candidates sought consideration under the special category, of which 599 scored the 80% threshold in the UTME. He further added that the 599 were subjected to further scrutiny of school certificates and post-UTME screening, which led to the emergence of 182 candidates. And he says that after due verification, interviews and screening, only 85 candidates were found to have met the criteria and have consequently been cleared for admission. You can read more details on this story from the Tribune newspaper. JAMB releases results of 85 underage candidates. Recall that the age limits for getting admission into tertiary institution is 16, but all of these are less than 16 years old. They are considered as special candidates, so they have to go through a series of processes before they will be qualified to proceed with the admission requirements of the schools they want to get into. So only 85 has made it through. 85 underage candidates. You can read more details on this on page 17 of the Nigerian Tribune. And now on to the next story for the Tribune. We have Tinubu and service chiefs meet to review security strategies. Tinubu service chiefs meet reviews security strategies. Following the appointment 3 days ago, President Bola Tinubu on Monday held a maiden meeting with the new service chiefs. The closed-door meeting focused essentially on security reviews and new strategies on how to make the country safer, according to presidential sources. The State House has said that the fresh appointments reflected a strategic realignment aimed at deepening professionalism, boosting troop morale, and strengthening interagency coordination in national security operations. The State House had earlier said the fresh appointment reflected, those who attended the meeting were the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, Chief of Army Staff, Major General Wahid Shaibu, Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Idi Abbas, Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Kennedy Aneke, and Chief of Defense Intelligence, Major General Emmanuel Ondiendeye. Ondiendeye was reappointed by Tinubu while he relieved the other former service chiefs of their duties. You can read more about this meeting on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. And now let's go on to the last newspaper to look at this morning, the Punch newspaper, starting with this headline that says Natasha broke penal code in attacks on Akpabio and Bello. Natasha broke penal code on attacks on attacks on Akpabio and Bello. That's coming from the AGF. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has said the defamation charges that filed against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan were in order because her conduct and actions against Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello contravened the Penal Code. The AGF stated this in response to Akpoti-Uduaghan's preliminary objection to 3 counts bordering on harmful imputation and defamation filed against her. The charges stemmed from complaints by Akpabio and Bello referencing the senator's allegations of an assassination attempt. Akpoti-Uduaghan was arraigned on June 19th before the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Maitama, Abuja, where she pleaded not guilty. She subsequently filed a preliminary objection urging the court to dismiss the charges against her. And on Monday, Justice Chizoba Orji adjourned till December 1st to hear the preliminary objection after the prosecuting counsel, David Casway, informed the court that although the matter was scheduled for the hearing of the objection, the prosecution had been unable to serve its response on the defense. You can read more details on this story on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. Natasha broke penal code in attacks on Akpabio and Bello. And now for a little bit of sports with this headline: Itauma won't fight in December. Itauma won't fight in December. You'll find this headline and the story on page 2 of the Punch Sports Extra, and part of the story says British-Nigerian heavyweight prospect Moses Itauma will not return to the ring in December as previously planned, with his promoter Frank Warren confirming the 20-year-old will likely wait until 2026 for his next bout. Warren revealed the update at a press conference over the weekend, explaining that the delay is linked to ongoing negotiations over a mandatory fight with WBA regular heavyweight champion Kubrat Pulev. He says, and I quote, "We've got to see what happens with this Pulev situation because the WBA ordered that fight and Pulev can't get out of it. We'll see where we go with it," Warren said. You can find more details about this fight on the page 2 of Punch Sports Extra. And then then to call it a day, I'll wrap it all up with this last headline for the morning. Nadozie Alozie gets global nominations. Nadozie Alozie gets global nominations. Still on the Punch Sports Extra, Super Falcons defender Michel Alozie has been listed among the 26 nominees for the 2025 FIFA Pro World 6. Punch Sports Extra reports. The FIFA Pro World 6 that's 11, sorry. FIFA Pro World 11 is the only global football award voted for exclusively by professional footballers. Alozie, who plays for Houston Dash in the NWSL, is one of the 3 Africans nominated. She prominently featured in the Super Falcons record extending 10th WAFCON triumph in Morocco earlier this year. Other African players who made the nomination list are Moroccan captain Ghislaine Shebak and Zambia's keeper Barbara Banda. You can find more details about this nomination on page 6 of Punch Sports Extra. And that's the last story for the day on the daily. So thank you so much for joining the show. And I hope that I have been able to point you in the right direction to look when you're grabbing a paper or two for today, October 28th, 2025. Quick hello to Precious Boluwatife on Facebook. She's saying, good morning, well done. Good morning to you too, Precious. Thanks for tuning in and joining the show this morning. Until we come your way again tomorrow, the Dailies still continues tomorrow, 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. Mondays to Sundays, rather, 9 a.m. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.